Welcome back to another episode of The View from the Ninian, where joining us after a week-long hiatus is Tom Phillips and, as usual, Ben Price. Tom Phillips, congratulations on moving into your new house. Do you want to tell the listeners and viewers all about it?
Yeah, so I'm currently in a house that's extremely empty. I was in an empty room earlier on where the echo was so bad. I'm now just clutched with a load of pillows and cushions behind me to try and absorb some of the sound waves. But yeah, Project Basement is coming along. I've got Cardiff and Wales shirts everywhere. But the Wi-Fi doesn't stretch the massive TV I've bought. So,
you need to get an
it's ongoing. I need to get an extender or a mesh network. If anyone wants to get in touch with me and tell me how it works, please do.
Mate. I genuinely can. I work with Amazon and their mesh network. Anyway, boring. Ben, how are you, mate? Any Wi-Fi issues to report?
No, not this week. Apparently there was last week for some bizarre reason, but no, this week seems all good.
Was there Wi-Fi issues with you?
Yeah, if you watch the video back, I cut out like 3 times.
Do you? I didn't notice that while I was filming it.
Awful it was. Disgusting when I was listening back.
Unprofessional, some say.
I'd really like to apologise to our many YouTube viewers, including Kieran and Steve, who we met at the game on Friday night. They used to listen to us, now they watch us on YouTube. And that's the kind of dual media we offer here on View from the Ninian. You can listen, but you can also watch. Or you could do both, because some people like to do both. Anyway, 2 big games to talk about, a couple of big games to look forward to, and a general look around the leagues to come. Let's talk about Hull on Tuesday. Ben, just written down here, huge win. It was a pretty big win, wasn't it? 1-0 over Hull at home.
It was massive. Like, the sense of relief at full time was huge. It suddenly doesn't make the Plymouth result that bad. I think we all said we needed 4 points from these 2 games, and getting that win there sort of took the pressure off, especially with the games coming up. It was just a really nice feeling to pick up a good win at home under the lights on a Tuesday.
Despite all that, Tom, obviously got the win, great, all that kind of good stuff, but it was a bad game of football, wasn't it?
The first half is one of the worst halves of football I've seen in a long, long while. Like, it was about 35, 40 minutes in. It's like, I'm going to check the stats here because this is going to be one of the best, like lots of stats you're going to see. And it was like expected goals 0.00 for Hull and 0.03 for us or something.
We had chances. We had chances.
We had the upper hand. Just, I think someone might have looked at the goal once in the first 45 minutes to put us ahead or something. But it was absolutely diabolical as a half of football. But didn't matter in the end. But at half time, I wasn't thinking that's for sure.
Accurate passes in the first half. We completed 118 with an XG of 0.19 compared to Hull's 0.12. The XG improved dramatically in the second half. We went up to 0.31. They improved to 0.016. So really tells the story of the football that Hull played, Ben. Despite all that in the first half, we were the dominant team when it comes to creating chances. But it's a bit of a story of the season, wasn't it, Ben? You know, we dominated the chances. We looked the team most likely to score, yet we didn't, and we went into half-time 0-0.
Yeah, I think dominant is being very generous.
I didn't say we were dominant. I said we were a dominant team when it came to chances.
Again, I still think possibly being generous.
I will refer to the stats. Carry on, but I will refer to the stats.
You can prove anything with stats. 99
exactly, and I'm going to prove it now.
People know that. But it was just a terrible. That first half, especially, it was just like, yeah, it just wasn't a good game. Really lacking in quality. I think the fact that we edged it with, was it 0.3, 0.3 or whatever it was.
0.07 on the goal XG, actually, Ben.
There's too much XG chat going on here. I'm going to end it there. But
yeah,
Tom's devastated. But yeah, it was just you can say we created a lot, but it was just a poor. You can tell it was 2 very poor sides.
Sorry,
very nervous.
My words are being twisted here. I didn't say we created a lot. I said we were dominant when it came to creating chances. We created 50% more chances than them. Oh, well, 100% compared to them, because they had 2 shots. We had 4. They had no shots on target. We had 2 shots on target. That is dominating the stats. But and by the way, on the XG chat, Ryan March was obviously on the podcast last week, and he said that one of his friends listened to the pod and turned it off immediately after the first mention of XG. So he is going to be long.
We've lost them again.
We've lost another listener. Anyway, Ben, did you want to finish your point while I defended myself, or were you done?
It was bad. There.
It was bad. And Tom, obviously Hull had a lot of the ball. If you look at the possession stats in the first half, 67% of the possession, but they didn't do a lot with it. they seem to focus on passing it back, forward, side to side without really getting it into the box. Did it make you glad that we didn't hire Sellers?
Maybe. I wasn't thinking about it that deep, but it was interesting to see like Hull Twitter claiming that Reese had outthought Sellers. I thought that was a really interesting take on it. They were kind of saying, because they were saying like it's how teams have set up when they've gone to play like Hull away, where they let them have the ball. Like we treated it as if we were the away team, even though we were at home, and it kind of worked for us. And I think when we got on to the second half as well, you could see that work when they had to then try and chase the game. There was a lot more space for us behind to catch them on the break. We just decided not to kind of do it. We didn't kind of capitalize on that chance being there. But it was interesting that their fans are clearly frustrated by it, how they set up and how, you know, we just let them have the ball and they clearly do nothing with it, which is a problem that we've also had. So it was interesting, like two bad teams meeting each other. What's going to be the difference between it? And perhaps it was Reza putting us out with the right tactics because we got over the line in the end.
Yeah, I expected a lot more from Hull. Obviously, they beat us earlier in the season, but that was under a different manager. And I think when Sellers went in, a lot of people probably just thought, right, this is what they need to push up the table. But it hasn't really worked for them yet under Sellers. And I wonder if that's if the problem is those tactics. He seems quite inflexible in the sense that even, you know, when we were dropping deeper and deeper, he couldn't seem to deal with it, which makes me think he's got a plan A and no plan B, which a lot of managers do have the problem with. Ben, as discussed.
Hull away.
I think it was, yeah. We lost 4-1, didn't we? Robbo scored to take the lead, and then we lost 4-1. I think it was Reese's first game, but most people were accepting of the fact that it probably was.
Yeah, they were doing well.
We played better. We played better. They were doing quite well at that point, yeah. As I said, Ben, we dominated the chances in that first half. The two big chances fell to Callum Robinson. One less so, but there was one chance in particular, really, where he went down the goalkeeper's left, where he probably should have done better with. And by done better, hit it a bit harder, because it was a bit of a soft shot considering the space he had.
Yeah, I think he looked a bit frustrated with it himself as well.
Yeah.
Kelly knew he should have done better with that chance. It felt like he was caught in two minds whether he was going to go across or like really put his foot through it. By the time the ball came to him, then he only had one choice and just didn't quite connect with it. But it was I think the one encouraging thing, especially in that first half, was the link-up play between Robinson and Salic.
Yeah,
they were just proper linking up, and like there's potential there in the right game for it to be a really effective partnership.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think he was just unlucky. I mean, you can't fault him. I was looking at these stats the other day. Fucking hell, we're going really stats heavy this week, aren't we?
Yeah, I don't like it.
The dominant chances.
We're going to have to talk about kebabs at some point. But I was looking at him, just like his of the players in like the top end of the scoring charts, his chances conversion is massively above everyone else's. Like he's really doing well. So you can forgive him for missing one.
Isn't his goals per minute's really good as well?
Yeah,
like
it's outstanding.
It's like, I think it was the best at one point. He's scoring sort of every 120 minutes, while other players are more like 100. It might be different now. I know Piro's been on a bit of a scoring run, so it might be slightly different. I don't know how we're going to move away from the stats. But anyway, let's talk about the goal, Tom. Obviously, Callum Robinson got the goal. It did take a slight deflection, which I don't want to take anything away from him from. I've tried enough this season anyway to take stuff away from Callum Robinson, so I'm trying to avoid that now. It was a great technique from the volley, wasn't it? And it was great link-up play from Willock with the cross as well.
Yeah, it's great link-up play. In terms of the technique, I've watched it a few times. I still can't tell if he shinned it.
Yeah.
Every angle, I can't tell if it's really good technique to keep it down or it's slightly rolled on his leg. I honestly can't work it out. So perhaps I'm taking something away from him here.
Exactly, wow. How the roles have changed.
My gut feeling is it was just a cracking strike. Like, he's probably one of the only players in our team who's got the ability to do that. He comes in, he's got the composure, and he puts it straight, like, keeps it low into the back of the net. Perfect. And it was a lovely looking goal. But I think I've just watched the highlights too much now where I'm looking for holes in it. But, like, I'm still not convinced. I don't know if you think the same thing.
Well, I think Wayne Rooney, when he scored that overhead kick against Man City, shinned that in. And I don't think that necessarily makes it a bad volley. I think it could be clever use of technique, right? He might know how to catch off the end of the volley that curls it away, because that's the way he hits it. It does kind of curl away. It just takes a deflection, which sends it into the far corner a little bit more. I'm not one to criticize Callum Robinson. You won't see me writing anything in any magazines about Callum Robinson to that effect. So I'll stick this one out. But Ben, do you think he shinned it?
As someone that's prone to shinning the ball, I can tell you it's not easy to get it to go in the direction you want. Normally, if I'm shinning it, it's going like 50 yards that way. So, look, whether it went off a shin or not, the technique and the control to get it going dead straight, fair play to the boy. He did well.
All right. Well, Callum, if you're listening, get in touch. Let us know if you did shin it or not. That'd be much appreciated.
Get in touch. I'll tell you Ben James's address, and you can go around and hunt him down for what he said.
He lives in Cardiff, mate. He's not going to come to my... Well, he might. He might. How important could that goal be, Ben? Obviously, with the Villa game on Friday, with the runner games we got coming up, with the result against Plymouth, we really did need that win. But you, like you said at the start, the sigh of relief at the end of the game, it felt like that goal was monumental, didn't it?
It felt huge. I think the players knew they needed the result. They needed the 3 points in that game. And then when they got it, as weird as it sounds, we'll talk about some more chances Hull had, but I don't think they ever felt after they got that goal that they were ever going to lose that game. I think they knew when they got that first goal, it was not quite job done, but they were in control and they can see this game. They've got the ability to see this out, and Hull won't score. So I think that shows huge character from all of them. But in terms of like the way the season goes, I think the two games coming up this week now are brutal. But to put that 6 points between us and like the bottom three, especially when like it seems like especially like Derby, like they're on a bit of a down run now. Like sort of things haven't picked up with a new manager. A lot of sort of things in flux there. Luton are terrible. It seems like there's the chance now to put some distance between us and the bottom three, and getting that 6 points there with these running games is huge for that.
You say Luton are terrible. They did win this weekend and have brought Portsmouth right back into it. But yeah, I think you're right on the overall point. And yeah, Tom, to that point, Hull obviously did create chances in that second half, but none of them really worried Horvath to the extent that you thought he was going to get beaten. There was one chance in particular. I think the cross came in, Crooks was battling with NG, and I don't even know how NG did it, but he managed to make himself almost like fold in on himself and head the ball clear. We're starting to see the proper NG return, aren't we? We've been critical of him in recent weeks, but now he's focusing on his game again. He looks like he's getting back to his best, doesn't he?
Yeah, it was only a couple of weeks ago as well. I think it was the last pod I was on that we were slating him. And I think since then he's had two good games. I think what we've said in the past as well is that he's had these bad run of games. We've slated him. He's come back in, done all right for a game, and then he's been bad again. We've seen it in fits and starts. I think it's time for him now to put those consistent performances in, because we're light at the back of the moment. We've had injuries. But I think we've seen some really good defensive performances emerge. He's one of them. Fish has been solid the last couple of games as well. He seems to be coming into his own a little bit. But it's the right time of the season to do it, because it's really interesting, right? Like, if we look back at the run of games that we've had, and you look at it and say, look, we've dropped points at Plymouth and things like that. But then you see the stat of, oh yeah, we were unbeaten at home in 6 or whatever it was. And it's like, it's a roller coaster of emotions at the moment. I can't tell if we're playing well and getting good results, or we're missing opportunities and we should have more.
Yeah.
It's been like, even listening to the pod last week, during that, I changed my mind whether it was a good result or bad result about 5 or 6 times against Plymouth. It's like, oh yeah, we're down to 10 men, but Plymouth is shit. It's like, yeah, but it was a great defensive performance not to concede, but we should have got at them more. And I'm like, I can't work out what's going on in this league this year. And I think going back to that goal earlier, I'd say whether it's a monumental moment, it definitely is. Because we lose that game against Hull and suddenly we're fucked in this league. But we come out of that game 6 points between us and the bottom, and suddenly you're thinking there's enough teams in the mix here that we're probably comfortable.
Yeah, I think, I was looking at the results yesterday, because obviously the championship is still going on, despite it being FA Cup weekend. And when you look, Portsmouth have been on such a good run. I was like, Portsmouth must be 12th, 11th. They must be 8 or 9 points clear of the relegation zone. They've lost yesterday, and they're only 3 points away from us now. And they lost to Luton. So obviously, I know Luton now are with 5 points above them in the relegation, but only 3 points off the team who had been streaking away from it. And Stoke, we've hauled back Stoke, we've hauled back Oxford in this. Oxford put together that amazing run when they beat us around Boxing Day, and you thought, God, they're going to peel away from this. But they've been so bad recently, and now they're only 2 points ahead of us. So I think the win on Tuesday, obviously, that and the draw against Plymouth combined make it a really important 4 points. And I think to put distance there on Tuesday, especially going into FA Cup weekend when we weren't playing and psychologically we could get dragged into it, was absolutely key. And I think now we go into Tuesday's game, obviously we'll talk about Tuesday's game a bit later on, knowing that we do have a bit of breathing space, but if we get a result, it's even bigger. So I'd be interested to see what happened, what kind of team we put out on Tuesday. But obviously, Hull, big win. And then, Ben, we were able to kind of relax a little bit and go into Friday's game. So obviously, Friday, FA Cup 5th round away at Aston Villa. We didn't win 2-0, but Ben, it was overall a pretty good performance considering, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought we were really good. Like, I think for 65 minutes, I thought we were really solid. I went back yesterday and watched. I didn't watch the game back, but I watched sort of what Keane and Ian Wright were saying in the studio, sort of like the feedback at halftime and full time. And I think, like I said, like the block and like how solid we were defensively was really clever. It wasn't so much wing backs; it was just like a flat back five. We were there to frustrate, and just like we were saying, it was such a low block.
It was the lowest block I think I've ever seen.
Mad. But it worked for 65 minutes. And like you've got players there, 3 times Champions League winner, players that are sort of like world renowned, playing for Villa there. And we kept them at bay for 65 minutes and played well and sort of had our own chances as well. We probably weren't as clinical and sort of like cutting edge we should be, and had done by a bit as well. So to go from that, the whole result, and then put that sort of performance together as well, it's really, really encouraging.
Tom, how happy were you to see Omar Reza put his trust in some of the young players again? Obviously, we've talked about the injuries we've had recently. We've talked about the kind of suspensions and everything else we've had. But Lawler and Giles came in, obviously, I think making their either first starts, definitely, if not some of their first starts. They haven't played that much. I think they were involved against Sheffield United as well. We saw Colwell come back in, and Fish starting from the start. But Lawler and Giles, it must have been very exciting for them to start at Villa Park.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable place to get your first start for Cardiff, isn't it? Like in front of an atmosphere like that, full of Villa Park, 6,000 Cardiff fans there as well. And when you look at that team sheet, all you're thinking is don't concede in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because it could completely ruin the night for them. But like we grew into the game. You want to see out the first 20 because then the home fans start to get a little bit frustrated because they're going into the game, they've seen the team sheet and they're thinking, right, we could batter this Cardiff team.
This is 4 or 5-0.
Yeah, especially the run that Villa been on as well. Again, kind of pumped by Crystal Palace the other day as well. They've had a bit of a tricky run. They've got a lot of fixtures coming up. It can get nervy quite quick, but we did frustrate them early doors, and the youngsters, especially with the players that kind of stood out. I think Ramsey had a really, really good game. He showed his class, but Colwell was outstanding. But at the back, Giles and Laura were unbelievable. I think apart from when the air shot from Giles at one point, which was quite funny, and they were a bit cruel and replayed it back, watching it on TV as well. So I think he'll get shown that a few times in the changing room over the next few weeks. I thought they didn't look out of place at all. And there's some like tricky players on the wings as well. I thought that Giles coped. He's arguably one of our best players on the field. I think apart from Colwell, because like I said, he was unbelievable. But we were good, and it was the most enjoyable Cardiff game I've watched in a long time. It kind of harks back to when we were in the Premier League, where you go into every game as an underdog, but like an underdog where it's a difference between an underdog in the Championship. Because if you're an underdog in the Championship, you're annoyed because why aren't you closer to being a favourite? You want to be in the playoff picture and stuff like that. When you're in the Premier League, it's the world is against you. Every week you're playing someone who's full of like absolute star players, played in World Cups, whatever. And it was really enjoyable to watch us just sit back, frustrate the fuck out of them, and watch 6,000 of our fans sing all game. And that gallows humour of like cheering when you got a throw in, cheering now we got the ball. And it was like, that's what we want back. That was the bit we enjoyed in the Premier League. It's like when we were in the Premier League, we're like, oh, it'll be better when they're back in the Championship. But the truth is, it's not, because it brings the best out of our fans when we have to unite being the underdog. And even watching it on my own in an empty living room with my TV connected on the floor it was the most, honestly, I enjoyed that 90 minutes more than I have done in a long, long time.
Yeah. I mean, Ben, I was going to talk about the fans towards the end, but we'll talk about it now. I mean, it was just a fun atmosphere, wasn't it? Obviously, we were both there. I think it was the most fun atmosphere I've seen at a game for a long time because, one, the game didn't really mean as much. Obviously, if we win, great. If we lose, we're out of the cup. We're always going to lose to Aston Villa. But the use of Salek chant, the how shit must you be? It's only 2-0. The gallows humour, the kind of whenever we got anywhere near the other end of the pitch, we would kind of G them up as if we just won a corner, that kind of thing. It was just fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I go to football to enjoy myself, and Friday night was one of the most like enjoyable football experiences I've had in a long, long time.
Yeah,
it was just everyone was there just to have a bit of a laugh. Like the away end right by Roy Keane and Ian Wright, watching Roy Keane demolish a pack of mini eggs and everyone taking the piss. Ian Wright doing the Ayatollah and getting everyone to do it that way. It was just a laugh. And that's all I wanted from it. I wasn't expecting a result. The players put in a performance and the fans were class and just had a good time. And that's what it's all about. Like, it was just fun. That's all I want football to be.
And have you got the use of Salak chant out of your ears yet?
No, it has sort of been there. It is a good one, that.
Yeah, it's the most original chant I've heard Cardiff fans come up for a long time. Tom, I don't know if you heard it on the TV, but Yusuf Salak scoring all the time.
How does it go? Sorry.
Yusuf Salak scoring all the time,
scoring all the time, scoring all the
time. And like
I'd heard it. I just wanted to sing it. Sorry.
There we go.
Gladly, I'll actually sing it. I was singing it like most of the way.
I was whistling it all day yesterday. I was just walking around, just whistling to myself. And the fact, like, people were banging on the shutters when we were by the bar. People were jumping on each other's shoulders. It was just a proper away end. And
I still think one of my favourite things with that was the woman serving the pint as the banging's going on. Just sort of looked at one of the other guys and just rolled her eyes as if to say, "This is doing my head in now." Because it didn't. it clearly went from, "Oh, this is quite cool that the atmosphere's going," to, "All right, this is getting annoying now," very quickly for her, and it was really, really funny.
Yeah. It was such an old school away end that for the first 5 minutes of the game we had to stand in the stairways because there were no seats available, and the stewards then had to come and move us all move us one by one to where there were seats because everyone had just piled into the one area.
Yeah,
and they were obviously sending people where their tickets were. It was that old school, but then they were just like, "No, just come with us. We'll find you a seat." And we ended up right on the corner between the home and away fans, and obviously we had above the stand behind the goal, above us, behind us, and the corner. And I think I don't think, obviously cup game, Villa fans probably weren't as up for it as we were, but we really did outsing them the whole game. I was quite disappointed with the Villa fans, to be honest. And I get it. Again, cup game, they're not exactly going to be the most excited for it. They expect to win, but they were very quiet compared to us.
There were moments though where it roared and like you'd go, the right circumstances, this place must be incredible. Because what a ground. I think that's
a great ground.
Fucking just... It's one of the best in world football. It is just for like everything about it. Like they've got it spot on. Outside, there's like a really good fan zone.
Yeah.
The stewards were pretty solid, to be fair. I thought they were fine. It was just everything about it. It's just class. I've got so much time for that place.
And I think it's much... Go on, Tom. Sorry, I was saying, like, watch it on TV though. Like the atmosphere, like it really did come across, and like the commentators mentioned it a couple of times as well. That's when you know it's good, when it gets through to the commentators, because there's so many games they go to, it just passes by. You can hear the bit of the atmosphere. They don't comment on it, but they went on about it like once in the first half, once in the second half. Kept saying about how much the Cardiff fans were enjoying themselves, and like you said though, like when the Aston Villa fans did come through, it was really loud and like it was spine tingling in a way, but it was always in response to something that the Cardiff fans had sung as well. It like kind of G'd them up, and it was really like that aspect was really enjoyable to watch. And like it's the most I've missed a football game since I've moved, for a long time. The fact that it's Friday night under the lights, a ground like that, the fact that people were constantly sending me photos didn't help. But I think if we'd won, I think it probably would have finished me off and I would have been flying home.
We were half expecting you to turn up.
I thought about it.
There was a few people saying it would be the most Phillips thing ever for you to just pop up now out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'll wait. There'll be my moment. Don't you worry about that.
I was just going to say about the ground is that I think you don't realise until you're in it how tall the ground is.
Yeah.
I think one of the stands on the far side to where we were is just quite cavernous. You don't realise, like you see it on TV and you think it's a proper tight, small little ground where everyone's close to the pitch. It is, but it's also got that vastness behind it, which you don't really see. And also what I learned is that those things that let off fire before a game are really hot when you get close to them. Because obviously we were right down the front to start and they were letting off the big flames when the players were walking onto the pitch. And my God, it was warm. So I'm glad we don't have those every week.
Yeah, the Wales rugby games, because I've been to a couple of them, as you like to take the piss on me for. Like Egg. You could feel them quite high up, like because they always have them as they come out, and I'm like, what's the point? They must be doing so much like bad for the like environment as well, because you can see the fumes coming off the top. As well. Does it really add much? But they are, they are warm.
The fireworks. At one point, the fireworks went off, and my back was turned to the pitch, and I shat my pants. I was not expecting. I felt the flames. I was like, yeah, cool. Like looking around, and then just this fucking one firework went off. And you know when you proper like your body just jumps.
Yeah.
It went bang. And I proper went, oh.
Yeah, it was. It's great old school ground. Ben, let's talk about the football a little bit rather than talk about everything else. You talked about the low block already, but there were times as well where we were kind of under pressure from pretty good footballers, as we have discussed. But we were playing it out from the back. We were going back and forth to the keeper, back across the back line. We didn't plan it, did we? And some of the football didn't look out of place at the level we were playing at. So it was really heartening to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think like you look at like we spoke about Giles there. The one thing that stood out and really helped him was Willock worked his bollocks off defensively as much as he did.
Willock did a lot defensively.
I thought he was really good, really doubled up and helped out there because, I mean, when you've got McGinn, Asensio, Watkins, and Bailey on that one side against a lad that's played, 4 or 5 times for the club, could be a long night for him. So, like, Willock coming back and doing that just helped us play it out as well and get stuff going. I think the only criticism, and it was something that sort of was brought up with Ian Wright and Roy Keane as well, was that when we did get it forward, we weren't quick. We kept it the same pace. And the one time we hit that pace through and we sort of sped the play up, Salic almost scored in the second half. So, like, there's clearly ability in that squad. And I think that's probably what we've been guilty of all season is just we've been one speed the whole game. But defensively, really solid and played it really, like, Colwell playing some of the balls out from there was ridiculous, the way he did it.
I think I'd like to have seen, El Ghazi was on his victory lap, and we could talk about that in a little bit. And Willock was doing a lot defensively, but I think in those situations you would have wanted Davis and Ashford on the pitch, right? Because when the ball gets forward, they do it at pace. And I know they came on later, but maybe a little bit earlier would have done it because I just think you're right. When they were so Aston Villa didn't need to really think about what we were doing because we were doing it at a slow pace. And I think if you brought Kian Ashford on maybe 10, 15 minutes earlier than he did come on, I think he came on. Says here at 81 minutes. If he comes on at 65 minutes, you've got a bit more time to get balls in and around the back. And if they are pushing so high up the pitch, which they were, just let him go on a run and just try and find him with a long clearance because that might happen. And I think that is the only disappointment I think we can have with the game. Really, one of the other players that I was worried about, Tom, and I'm glad we don't have a disappointment about him, was Ethan Horvath in goals. Man of the match performance from him, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's fantastic. One of the saves as well. He sees it late, but he dives in that direction, kind of anticipating it. And then he gives it like a strong, like palm to, almost hits his wrist. But like it's such an instinctive save from him. And he had, what was it, 7 or 8 saves during the game? I thought he was fantastic. He seems like unfazed, really. He did have that one moment where he nearly hit it into their striker. I think he just about nutmegged him, didn't he? But that's because he is really calm on the ball. And that's what we've seen from him, like in the past. That there was one point last season where we were completely lauding him, thinking he was fantastic. He just has a bit of a ricket in him every now and again. But he has that performance in his locker. And we have got 2 decent keepers at the club. And I think that's why it's a bit difficult to pick between them at times, because they both make the odd mistake. But to be honest, they're both dependable, good championship keepers who can pull off like a Premier League performance every now and again.
Yeah, and then the one save in particular was, there was that, I think the save from Rashford is the one I think you're talking about, Tom, where Rashford tried to put it in the corner and he dived that way anyway, and it was a really strong save. Yeah. But the one where he came out and made himself big against Watkins, Ben, that's a really good anticipation save. And Watkins was in space, did everything he could, but because Horvath had made himself so big and come out so quickly, there was no way he was getting around him, was there?
Yeah, it's great goalkeeping. It also happened quite early on. I think that's when you talk about up by us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think like that sets the tone then, doesn't it? If like Hull score that, if Villa score that early on, it becomes a very different game, and sort of then it could be a battering. Keeper pulling that off against one of their best players, and sort of like I know Watkins isn't like a top end striker, but he's a very, very good Premier League striker.
I mean, he's still pretty good.
Yeah. But then you've got him coming out and doing that against that. That's got to give you and your defense some encouragement and go, we've got a chance here. This could be our night. And that's what set the tone, and absolutely outstanding. Like how long his arms are as well still will never not be funny to me. Yeah. They seem to extend. The more he reaches for a ball, they just get longer and longer, as if like they are go gadget arms. And yeah, it's nice to see him hopefully do well and get a bit of a run now. Annex out for the rest of the season.
Don't ask me why, but I was looking at photos of Neil Etheridge yesterday, and I think Neil Etheridge and
No,
Ian
I think we
Horvath
have to ask why.
Agreed.
I
Go
think
on.
he came up on it. I think he came up on Instagram, and then I was like, "Oh, what?" I'd forgotten where he was playing. So I was like, "Where's he playing now?" He's obviously playing in Thailand for Birham United. And then I was just having a little look at his photos because I remembered how long his arms are, and I was wondering in my head who's got longer arms, Horvath or him? Because Etheridge's arms are almost down by his knees. They're so long. And Horvath has got long old arms as well. So Ben, on your point about Ollie Watkins not being a top end striker, he's played in the Premier League for 5 seasons. How many times do you think he's hit double figures in that time, Ben? If you're going to call him a not top level striker, I don't know why.
Oh no, I'm saying like he's not like elite world class. I say he's a good striker, but he's not like.
I did ask that question, Ben. How many times has he hit double figures in 5 years in the Premier League?
Oh, 5, 100%.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. 20 goals last season in the Premier League, Ben, and he's not that good.
I'm saying he's not like when you look at it, he's not a world class striker. He's no Callum Robinson or Salic, for instance.
There we go. That's what we were hoping for. Let's talk about some world class strikers. Who did I ask the last question? I'll come to you on this one, Ben. They were always going to win, weren't they, with their starting lineup? Obviously, as a starting lineup of world class strikers, Ollie Watkins, Marcus Rashford, Marcus Asensio, backed up by T. Elemans and Leon Bailey on the wings. Rashford and Asensio combined twice, I think, for their goals. They've won 3 Champions Leagues between them. Rashford's won none. Asensio's won 3. It was just going to happen, wasn't it, Ben? And it's a shame, but when you've got players like that you're going up against players like that, they're always going to score one, aren't they?
Yeah, it was. We were in the concourse looking at this squad, hoping they'd go easy, and then you sort of look at that line, you go, "Ooh, this could be a long night." I mean, it starts strong. You've got currently FIFA's ranked #1 goalkeeper in the world that won the World Cup, that used the Golden Glove as his own dick. I mean, it's a strong start. Going from there like that, I love that. It's still one of my favourite moments of the World Cup ever. Sort of, you look at that sort of back four, then it's pretty bloody strong. And midfield as well, like John McGinn suddenly turned into one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. Didn't see that one happening, but he's class. Tillemans, FA Cup winner. Don't think he was at Leicester when he won the Premier League. When they won the Premier League, was he?
No, he won the FA Cup with them, but he didn't win the Premier League.
Yeah. Asensio, 3-time Champions League winner. Rashford won multiple FA Cups, the Europa League. Ollie Watkins, bang average striker. I mean, it's just it's a tasty lineup, and you compare that with sort of Louis Giles' 4th or 5th appearance, Lawler making his debut, first start, Gutas playing probably the highest team he's ever played against in like British football, Will Fish, Man United academy prospect, never really played. It's a bit of a mismatch to say the least.
But you say they were always going to win. But like when Salek is through and it's a good save by Martinez, that is your swinging doors moment, TM. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That goes in, they shit themselves. Yeah, like they went up the other end and scored. The thing about FA Cup ties like that is you keep yourself in the game. If you go in at halftime 0-0, you're in that tie. And you don't know whether they're going to make changes because they've got games coming up. So that's what you're praying for. And like after the first 10 minutes, you're thinking, right, this is going to be a really long night. We could get hammered here. But I tell you what, there was hope at halftime. There was excitement, and that was just in my empty living room. So I can imagine what it was like in the concourse. Because there is part of you thinking we could pull something off here. And if we had got that goal, we'd get on to some of the other moments in the game. If we nick the first goal, it could be a very, very different second half. But also, and that's why he was excited, right?
Yeah, the one thing we haven't talked about is whether Perry and G should have had a penalty. I thought I'd put that in there, but it seems like I deleted it somehow. And that's another swinging doors moment, isn't it, Tom? Because you can have a debate of whether it would be soft, whether it was a penalty, whether he was offside for the VAR and all that kind of stuff. But he did get clipped. It probably could have been given as a penalty. I think if Villa get that, it's probably given for the home team. And if we get that penalty and score that, Tom, the game changes completely, doesn't it?
Yeah, if that's not offside, that is a penalty. Yeah, I just don't understand. He hasn't got the ball; he's kicked him in the foot in the box. I don't care if it's soft. I don't care if it makes him go down. The commentator kept, I think it was Leeds, saying, "Oh, it's not enough to make him go down." I don't give a fuck. He kicked him in the foot in the box. It's a contact, and even Roy Keane said it was a penalty at half time. It's a penalty.
And he would know. Roy Keane would know.
Well, if he's saying it, do you know what I mean? I'd go along with him but was it offside? I still don't know. Again, this is did it come off Callum Robinson shit?
Yeah. The one that was offside was El Ghazi, the one on El Ghazi.
There was
Right,
confusion in
so-
the ground because I think that 2 incidents crossed over, but he wasn't. I watched the highlights today. The referee didn't give anything.
Yeah, it's a penalty for me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Ben?
we're going to win a game from there. It's a penalty.
No, I
Ben, do you
completely agree. The only person I've seen say it wasn't a penalty was Ashley Williams. And what does that say about it all?
Shock. Yeah.
He makes contact with him. He doesn't win the ball, and then
It's late.
and he doesn't. It's not just a case of that. He also. It's not as if like it's a touch of the foot and he goes down. He then follows through and bangs knees with him, and more contact there. It should have been given. And like you said, if it's the other way around, and it's a Villa. If it's us against Villa, the ref's giving that without even needing to go to VAR. But what I didn't realize was it's not like the full version of VAR that's in play. It was like
I thought it was from this round. I thought there was
No.
I thought it was VAR.
he was
and
saying there was like it's like a more stripped back version of it with like semi-automated offsides and stuff like that. But like as far as big decisions,
I thought both were in play because Preston posted a tweet saying first time ever at Deepdale and they had VAR screen. So I thought both were in play. They just did this semi-automatic for offside decisions on top.
All right, I got confused with what the BBC website was saying then. But yeah, it was just how it didn't step in then. I don't get it because
They did look at it. They did look at it.
Oh, did they?
So and that's the bit that frustrates me even more. It's the other way around. Like if he gives that on the field, it doesn't get overturned.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. Like that, it's as simple as that. And the thing is, like sometimes it's a bit of a conspiracy. So if it's up the other end, it's probably going to get given. That would, because I think he'd give that on the field and then would go to VAR if it's the home team. I think that's the difference, right? Because with a massive underdog, he's probably not giving it. There's probably nothing in it. It's them trunching their arm. But NG makes the most of it because he got kicked in the fucking foot.
But I also think if it's at the other end of the stadium as well, I reckon there's more chance of getting given. I feel like crowds play such a big part in that. Sort of if he's like behind all the City fans and looking at all the City fans around him with that reaction there and in that box, I think naturally he's going to give it. I think it's just one of those. It's just I think we were just really unlucky with it.
I also think, the VAR thing, like the referee probably thinks if it is a penalty, the VAR will overturn it. But like he stops him making a decision. Like I don't know why he doesn't make a decision there to either just to call it back, because surely if you have any doubt, you give it and then hope that the VAR overturns it instead of the other way around, which is I hope the VAR intervenes. Because it's like yesterday with the Mateta kick as well. Like people are like, why doesn't Michael Oliver give it? And I think he's just so going, well, VAR will pick this up, even if I've missed it.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I don't know how he missed it. I think it was a booking. He didn't even give a booking on the field, apparently. Michael Oliver for the Mateta kick in the head. Anyway, I digress. We've lost track of where we are. Let's talk about Ruben Colwill, Ben. One of his better performances yesterday.
Yeah, he does something in those big games, doesn't he? I think that's what's frustrating with him, isn't it? I think that's where the criticism it doesn't sort of discredit it. If anything, it justifies it. You see these performances against big teams and big games, you think he's capable of so much. Like so much. He was class. Like I've never been so far, I haven't been convinced of him in like the deeper midfield role. I've been like, I'm not too sure. He's not, it's not, I don't know if it's right there. I think he's better as a 10. But seeing him alongside Ramsey and carrying the ball up the way he did, I mean, you just have to look at Twitter. There's a player there. There's such a good player there. Hopefully we see more of it and he's a bit more confident to do it. But it might be a case of playing alongside Ramsey gets the best out of him. But fuck, he was fantastic.
That's the point, though. We've said in the past, like we when he's played alongside. Well, I think you said it last week when he's playing with better players on the pitch who are anticipating movement, who can play the same quality of ball when on the same wavelength. It works for him, and like him and Ramsey working together, it just clicks, and it was great to watch. But I just wish he wouldn't do it in when the cameras are there with every other fucking club watching, because you go through Twitter and it's just like Newcastle fans who are tuned in going, I tell you what, this Colwill looks good for Cardiff. He'll fit in. It's like, please don't.
Leave him alone.
It's like we haven't even got the best out of him yet, and he's going to be taken for us. I think that's why we get frustrated, because we know it's there. And someone will nick him and he'll thrive in the Premier League. It'd be good for Wales, but it'd be awful for us. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think there were so many people watching yesterday that I think maybe that's a real possibility now this summer. If Colwell's a bit frustrated with everything, if there's no clarity about what's happening, his agent's going to go, just look at Twitter. There's loads of clubs out there who want you, and they'll chance their arm or something. I don't know. I'm just getting worried about losing him. I just want to see him play more, because there are so many good moments where like the way he uses his body, the way he shifts his weight, just like sends players for hot dogs. 2 or 3 players go the other way, and it's like, why can't you just do that every game? Because it's so enjoyable to watch. Like, was it the Portsmouth and Plymouth games at home where he was at his best? It was like, you are just class. But I mean, it's so frustrating that it takes the yesterday's game to bring it out of him. Tom, on the flip side, some of the internet criticism has been for El Ghazi. Obviously, El Ghazi returning to a place where he's a cult hero, where they really love him. A lot of fans seem to think that was a bad thing. I don't. Like, El Ghazi's been through the ringer in the last year or so when it comes to football. Like, he's been badly treated by his previous employer. Probably never thought he'd ever see Aston Villa play at Aston Villa again. He's allowed to enjoy himself a little bit, isn't he?
Yeah, I get why people think it's a bit over the top and stuff, but like you hit the nail on the head there with the like he has had a torrid few years where like he's been ousted out of clubs. There's been turmoil. He's getting absolute pelters from all corners.
Contracts. Yeah.
Exactly, right? And then he goes to a place where people are chanting his name and stuff. And I kind of get it. It's not like he didn't put out a shift in. You know, it wasn't as if he gifted them a goal or anything like that. I thought he had a decent game himself. And if he wants to enjoy himself at the end of the day. Like, I don't mind it one bit. And to be honest with you, if he's coming off a pitch a happier man, then we might see the benefits of it over the next few games. If you've got happy people going into your changing room, then great. So it wasn't to our detriment. So if people want to moan, they can moan, but I won't be one of them.
No, I won't be one of them either. But talking about moaning, let's go over to Twitter, where, well, to be honest, not many people have been moaning this week. Twitter.com/VFT Ninian for all your tweets. So David Carter, whilst there are clearly things still not quite right, the one beacon of light is the academy pipeline, bringing more homegrown talent to the first team squad. Ben, I think there was something like 9 Welsh players involved in the squad yesterday. That's what we've been calling out for, isn't it? Tom's nodding. You agree, Ben?
Yeah, it's class. I think you look at Omar Reza's world-class Instagram account. He posted that picture. I will talk to you about that off camera, Tom.
Yeah, well, no. We can just talk about it now. I don't care. We all decided before. I don't follow Omar Reza on Instagram. His Instagram's now private, so you have to request to follow him. On our way to the ground yesterday, me and Ben both said, "Let's follow Omar Reza." Requested to follow him before we even got to the ground. He'd accepted our follow request. So that's what he's doing before the game. Yeah.
Oh.
It's clear that his Instagram isn't run like you look at some managers. It's clearly run
not outsourced, is it?
No, he's like it was like an hour and a half before kickoff. Like the team sheet's clearly just gone in, and he's going accept. And he's going around
the podcast boys.
Oh Christ!
The lads I haven't accepted on LinkedIn. Yeah, it was just really funny.
But he did post that nice photo, didn't he, of all the shirts in the dressing room? And
the collage of all the names on it.
Yeah. It's huge. That I mean, in a game like that, to have Lawler, Ramsey, Colwell, Giles. Who else?
So he posted the photo of all the. It was Armstrong, Turner, Ramsey, Bagan, Giles, Mafiko, Niakua, Ashford, Isaac Davis, and Lawler, all from the academy involved.
That's great.
It's class. It's so good to see after such I think it probably is the one success from sort of the Tan regime, isn't it? Is the return of the success of the academy. I think that's probably.
And it was, because we weren't even close before. That was the difference. Do you know what I mean? We had nothing coming through since Ledley. There was absolute rubbish.
Ben Nugent. No, but I always call him out because he's the only player who sort of played anything beyond 5 or 6 games for us in the league. Because he came through during the promotion season. He played a little bit the seasons after, but it was probably only 20 to 25 games. But he is, up until recently, the most standout person from that era because he played the most. And he didn't play that much.
He's from and he's from Welling Garden City, and we poached him from someone else, right? He wasn't as if we brought him up through the ranks.
No, of course. I'm just but that's what I mean. Like he's the player that always comes to mind just because of how rare it was.
He's now at Gloucester. No, he's not. Where is he now?
He's
playing in Cambodia.
Team, Angkor Tiger. I only know that because I'm not a big Ben Nugent mega fan. But there was an English Players Abroad account, and they posted that he was going out to Cambodia to play for a team out there.
That is mental. It wasn't even. How many games do you reckon he played for us? Sorry, mate.
15 to 20.
He played 14 games, scored 1 goal.
Yeah. See, I was close.
all in the promotion season. He never actually played for us after that promotion season.
Oh, did he not play after that? I thought he
No.
kind of didn't play in the Premier League era, but then played a little bit.
Yeah, I thought that as well, but no. It sort of shows how
14 games.
Where's he play? What's the name of the teteam?
Angor Tiger.
Angor what?
Tiger.
Oh, it's a Cambodian pun.
A-N-G-K-O.
I was trying to be funny.
On. Move on. Move on.
Never mind.
John TM Williams. What's your opinion about the lack of opportunity for Simic? Thought the tie would be an ideal opportunity for some minutes. My view on Simic is that I don't know why we signed him. Everyone's having to kind of slot him in and all that kind of stuff. It's a weird signing, but if he what did Reza say? He's just not at the level yet, and I think we have to take Reza at his word on that. Like, he's going to put players ahead of him. Salek has come in and has outstripped him already. So, like, why would you drop Robinson? Why would you drop Salek? Why would you drop Ashford, Davis, whoever else is playing up front for him when we don't know what he's about? I just think it's going to be one of those like him and Sonoda. I think we will never see them play a game for us. I think it's going to be one of those.
I think like he looks okay in the under-21s. He doesn't look a cut above, but like for years we've had so many players, sort of strikers in that under-21s doing well. Like Etienne Velaconius bagged for fun in the under-21s, looked hopeless when he came into the first team. He's got potential, but he was always bought with the prospect in mind. And it's not like we're looking at going, oh, we're desperate for another striker. Like, I'd love to see a striker come in. Salek just come in, done class. Robinson's got 13 goals this season. Just leave it be. It's drama for nothing. That like out of nothing. It's like this. He's potential for a few years, and it might come good. It might not. It's a new Max Waters.
Talking of Etienne Bellaconga, just looked him up. He's apparently playing at the 5th level of Italian football in a regional league composed of 28 divisions divided geographically. So that's where Etienne Bellaconga is. If anyone,
I will tell you what, we've had
the 33, 34.
I will let you know. I'm just back on his Wikipedia. He's 36. 36.
We've had some mad teams mentioned on here today.
Yeah. Listen, if people are listening, they wouldn't understand the geography of what we're doing right now. Paul, Evil Welsh G, if you will, thought we stuck to the game plan. Would have liked the wide players, wing backs to have more freedom when we had the ball to go forward. Main thing is we didn't get embarrassed, and that keeps our momentum going. Good to see some of the youngsters hold their own against Prem players. Matt CCFC 555, really good effort last night. Really happy for Horvath getting man of the match. He deserved that. Should give him all the confidence in the world for the rest of the season. Ramsey and Rubin really good in midfield. I thought Dylan Lawler had a superb debut. Roll on Tuesday. James Webber, how bloody marvellous were we last night, and how proud of you of our club. So many positives, individual performances, fans, team, setup, number of youth players, effort, determination, desire, skill. They won, but we were the true winners. Spot on. This is a slight change of tangent on enjoying things. Neath Blues, maybe an unpopular opinion because we were battled well last night, but Reza in his post-match interview with the BBC was smiling like we won the game. I didn't like that as we still lost. I felt Reza was happy it was over and we didn't get battered. Can Reza handle the pressure? Tom, you narrowed your eyes there, and Ben, you look a bit shocked. So I'll come to either of you first. Tom, what's your view on that?
To be honest, if I was Reza, I'd be happy as well knowing that you'd both followed him on Instagram just before kickoff. I think he was still buzzing from the interactions.
Buzzing about that.
Yeah. No, I kind of get the point, right? Like, there's a lot of people who are like, you shouldn't be happy in defeat and things. But we have been absolutely woeful at times this year. We've been battered by Burnley, battered by Leeds. And we could have easily got into that Villa game, light on the ground like we were, and got turned over early doors, destroyed the confidence of some of our youth players, but we didn't. And we went there. The fans were buoyant. We put in a decent performance. We saw a lot of positives. Ramsey, Colwell, Lincoln, Salek being an absolute nuisance as well. Yeah. I feel like we didn't touch on that earlier. I thought he was brilliant in that kind of holding the ball up and just putting himself about second half. I think everyone left that ground happy because we can see the shoots of positivity like going forward where we didn't have them a month ago. So I get if we were like 10 games into it, like a Premier League season, you're smiling after a battling 2-0 loss to Villa, then different. But this is a one-off cup game against a quality side, a quality that we haven't played this year, and we held our own. So if you're not going to be happy in that moment, then you're in the wrong game, I think.
Yeah. Ben?
I completely agree with what Tom said there. I think it's just enjoy it. It was like a really good night for the club in a season that, let's be honest, has been fuck all to smile about other than the South Wales derby. Just enjoy the night and just like let the manager have a nice time. he was absolutely spot on for his tactics. It was two really good bits of skill, and we switched off for 2 seconds and got punished for that. Other than that, I thought we were outstanding. Just like if he's not allowed to smile, then we've done a job well done. When's he allowed to smile?
He's also been through the ringer himself personally, hasn't he?
Yeah,
with everything
he's had a shit time.
Last few months, sorry, not weeks.
He's clearly sort of like he was clearly really close to his old man. Like,
yeah,
and let him have a nice time. Let the fans have a nice time. Just don't moan about this one. He can smile.
Let's just enjoy things.
Yeah.
Let's just enjoy things.
Yeah.
The season's been shit.
Definitely.
Let's enjoy these moments.
Yeah.
Go on, Ben. We can say something else then, Ben.
No, just spot on. Agree with what you said there.
DJ in it. How excited are you by the amount of quality coming through the academy at the minute? Yeah, already touched on that. Very excited. Alex Bennett, Rehull, shout out to Horvath for wasting time by having a drink next to the goals when he probably couldn't reach his drink from the penalty spot. Another shout out. Gareth Bunning, can we score against Burnley? Ben, can we score against Burnley?
Yeah.
Tom?
Yes.
I mean, they conceded 3 against Preston yesterday, and one of those was a horrible bastard. So we can. Simon Keane, good week. Hull was massive. Villa was fun. Optimistic pod. We're trying, Simon. We're bloody trying. Leon Millard, Hull as a game of beauty. Hit every single branch of the ugly tree as it fell, but we got 3 points, which at the end of the day was all that mattered. Villa game, super proud of the players. Fans were fab. Good to see Jason Mohammed singing his heart out at Villa Park, and Ian Wright doing the Ayatollah. Richard Endicott, is Villa Park the nicest ground in the worst area you've ever been to? Lovely ground, but what a shithole. Tend to agree. I got quickly on the train out of there after the game. MJCCFC, the academy has to become what this club is built around for years to come. The senior academy boys and the new ones coming through are the shining lights consistently, and it feels like the younger age groups are no less talented. And the final one, Sven Carr asks, your favourite ever cup goal and your least favourite ever cup tie. Tom, favourite ever cup goal?
Oh, probably, I know it's an obvious one, just the Ledley semi-final one for me.
Least favourite ever cup tie?
Macclesfield away.
All right. Ben?
I got to go with the Ledley goal as well. It was up there.
All right.
Least favourite, Stoke in the FA Cup third round replay the year we had Bellamy on loan. We lost 2-0. It was the coldest and worst game I've ever seen. I was fucking freezing. It went to extra time and it was just grim.
All right, for my favourite FA Cup goal, I'm going to go slightly off piece, but same year. Either Whittingham's at Middlesbrough or Aaron Ramsey's goal against Chasetown, because it felt like the start of something when you look back. And my least favourite ever FA Cup tie, God. Was it FA Cup or I'm just going to go any other cup tie? I think we lost to like MK Dons 1-0 in 2006 when we were at Ninian Park, and it was just the most drab affair. Like early season League Cup tie. I think we put out the second string team, so like Mark Howard was in goals, Willow Flood made his debut, and we lost 1-0, and it was just miserable game. Twitter.com/the FT Ninian for all your tweets. Thank you to everyone who sent in tweets this week. Ben already touched upon it, but yesterday there were still games going on despite us being in the FA Cup. The Championship doesn't stop for no man, let alone the FA Cup. There were some big games involving teams around us in the table yesterday. Oxford lost to Coventry at home. They lost 3-2. Luton beats Portsmouth 1-0. Derby lost 1-0 away at Middlesbrough, and Stoke drew 0-0 with Watford. The table has tightened up a little bit, Ben. Let's start with Oxford. Obviously, they beat us on Boxing Day, been on a bit of a run, looked like things were kind of coming back under Rowett. Gone the other way now. Your boy is still there, Mark Harris. Are they firmly back in the relegation fight now? Only 2 points clear of us in 18th?
Yeah, I think they are, aren't they? There's just like we said before, they're so patchy with their form, and they're in a stinking run. They didn't win all of February, didn't win a single game. Mark Harris to stop scoring, and when that happens, you know you're in trouble. Yeah, I think it's safe to say they're back in the dog race.
Tom, would you fancy us to claw them back, overhaul them?
Yeah, I think we'll overhaul them. I don't think they'll get sucked in just because that relies on the teams in the bottom three winning. And I don't think they've got enough games left, possibly. The only thing is, I think Oxford have got a bit of a stinking run in from what I've seen.
I was just about to say, they've got Norwich away, Hull away, Watford at home, Middlesbrough away, Sheffield United at home, QPR at home, and then Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds before they play us next. So that is
okay. Possibly might go down.
run.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot more twists and turns left this season. There's no doubt about it. I think, like we've said, teams have gone on runs, and you think they've run away from it, and they've been clawed back in. Stoke have somehow just like treaded water, and just have stayed exactly where they are, like the whole time throughout this. But I don't know. Something's going to happen. And I think there might be a shock one. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that is a guarantee. Something like that. No, but I think someone will get dragged into it unexpectedly. And it could be Oxford. But I don't know. Like, who do you, out of those bottom three, who do you think is most likely to kind of pull themselves out of it? Do you think they've got a run in them? Luton, maybe? Because they've still got a bit of quality in this squad.
That's the only thing that sticks to me is that I still think, like, I know there's no such thing, but like you look at that team, they're a Premier League team last year, like how well they were before that. I just think like they're too good to go down, surely. Same with Hull, I think they're too good. And then you look at Stoke and Oxford, and I think they're both honking. I still wouldn't be surprised to see both of them go.
Just to clarify, it wasn't MK Dons we lost to, and my cup tie was Barnet, which probably makes it worse. Talking about Luton, their run of games, they're not playing midweek, but they've got Burnley away, followed by us. Then they have Middlesbrough at home, Hull away, which is probably their biggest game in that run. Leeds, Stoke, Blackburn, then Derby as well. So Luton have got some real tough games in there, and then games against teams around them as well. So again, it's if they lose a couple, but then win the couple against the teams around them, it just alters things massively at the bottom, doesn't it?
You pick up points from teams around you, and you sort of drag. Again, it's dragging them in as much as it's pulling you out of it. And I think like that win against Portsmouth for them is massive. It doesn't I think if Portsmouth win that, they go, 42 points. They're level on points with Preston. You sort of think, they're probably out of it now. They're probably safe. That loss just sort of, they probably are still going to be all right. Like 39 points at this stage. Like you think, should be all right. But there's just that little bit of doubt in their head still, isn't there? There's still that bit of just, what if? And like if you're losing to those teams, they're managing. It gives them huge confidence as well. Like the whole result will give us huge confidence. There's going to be a lot in there, especially with them all still to play each other so much. I think there's going to be, it's not straightforward yet, and we're not anywhere clear of it. I don't think we can sort of look away from that as well.
No, I've literally been clicking on every kind of team in that bottom 6-7 and looking at their league fixtures. They're either playing the teams in and around them, so we're all playing each other at some point. We're playing Luton, Derby are playing Plymouth, that kind of thing, or they're either playing Sheffield United and Leeds at some point. We've got to play Sheffield United, but we haven't got to play Leeds. And it just feels like for every 3 points they might pick up, there's going to be 3 points they drop somewhere else because they're playing some of the better teams. They're playing the teams that are in form. And I think the twists and turns between we've got 11 to 12 games left for most teams in this season. Like I said, we're all playing each other, but the twists and turns between now and the end of the season are going to be insane. And I think Derby, I've got a colleague who I work with who's a Derby fan, and he said, despite Eustace coming in, things don't look good for them. And they've now dropped to the bottom of the table, Ben, which, earlier in the season, they were knocking on the door of the playoffs at the start of the season. They were kind of up there with sort of 10 games into the season, but they have dropped like a stone, haven't they?
Yeah, they've really I didn't realise how badly it was, the fact that they're now bottom. You're sort of looking, January sort of time, I was thinking, they're still not anywhere near it. They're not going to be in too much trouble. Like, they've sort of done all right. They've got enough there about them to stay up. And then suddenly you're looking at, stone cold bottom, like 4 points clear from like that. And the 4 points, it's not just one result. You need to get 2 results with other teams dropping points. Then it's sort of psychologically, it's a lot more. On 29 points, it's looking bleak all of a sudden, isn't it? And you sort of, they probably are.
They haven't won a game since Boxing Day.
Which
I didn't realise. That's really bad. They haven't, in that time, they've only managed to pick up a couple of draws, and they drew with, let me go back to their thing. They drew with Oxford, Norwich, Leyton Orient in the cup, and that's it. Every other game they've lost in that time.
They're really in trouble, aren't they? And you sort of think, if they're on form and stuff, I think they can be all right, but there's not many players I'm looking at this squad and going, I'd love to be in a battle with them. Sort of like you'd love to have them in your squad for a relegation battle. I think like Abu Adams, like tidy player.
Say that again.
I realised I did a U. Abu Adams.
Looking at the fixtures as well, like we've got Luton, we've got Stoke, we've got Oxford, but we've got all of them at home.
Yeah,
and I think that's why it's like, don't panic if we get nothing from Burnley, nothing from Sunderland. They're the big. There's 9 points on offer there. and they're 9 points against teams around us. And I think they're the games that are going to define our season. It's not going to be the next two. If you get something from the next two, then fantastic. We showed what we can do against Villa. There's no reason why we can't do it against these two teams. But we've got to target those 3 games. We've had a really good home stretch. We looked dodgy at home earlier in the season. But now our fans have got a new kind of energy coming out of that Villa tie as well. Hopefully that'll translate into a bit of a home atmosphere. So they're the games that we've got to keep an eye on now in the run-in.
Yeah. I just think, as we talked about, it's just going to be chop and change. Like Hull on Tuesday are playing Plymouth, and obviously Hull have got Plymouth at home. If that game goes either way, it's going to have massive ramifications for the bottom of the table. Then on the 12th of March, Hull play Oxford United. Then on the 29th of March, they play Luton. And they play Derby before the end of the season, and Portsmouth on the final day of the season. Like I don't think
Hull are like the key ones in this. It feels like they're the absolute kingmakers. Like
exactly
it's mad.
It's just the supercomputer that throws up all the fixtures couldn't have thrown up a better run in, really, could they? For teams who are neutrals who are watching this, for the teams who are involved, it's pretty much 8 or 9 cup finals. How many cup finals can you have? I think Hull have got about 7 or 8 there, so it's very exciting. And of course, this weekend, Ben, it's the Mark Robbins derby, Stoke versus Coventry, which will be a laugh, won't it?
Yeah, 2 glorious cities, wonderful places. Just height to culture, everything about them's great. So, like both of them, they'll have a lovely time. I think that's one thing for sure. Like, is it who are home, Stoke or Coventry?
I think Stoke are at home, but I can't be asked checking on FOTMAP again because I feel like I've just been looking at that for the last 20 minutes.
So what a delight for Coventry fans, like going to that sort of part of the world and enjoying themselves.
Seeing what a city could look like.
Yeah. We've got that. I feel bad. Who's that one Stoke-based Cardiff fan who listens to the pod? And we're even abusing them.
Owen Davis.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Owen, because we're now abusing Stoke when they're not even involved in our ties. So
look at the transcript. Look at the transcript. What did I say there? It was bad.
All right. Yeah. Right.
Listen, Ben's opinions about Coventry are well publicised, but you can't fault what Frank Lampard has done there. Right, Tom. Are we going down? Yes or no?
No.
Ben?
No.
All right, I'm going to ask this question every week and see how it changes with the wind and the results.
God.
I can't wait for next week, and I'm sat sobbing going, we're screwed.
It's like what's it, like an election barometer from now on? Like promotion, relegation chances just made up on our own fucking.
It's just the only way that you're going to get joy out of this, because if we do go down, you can just smugly watch me and Ben melt as we slowly drop down the table.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get any joy from that, but it's nice to keep a track of these things. Let's talk about the next couple of games. Ben, Burnley at home on Tuesday, Sunderland away next Saturday. The main question is, do we get anything from these games? Bearing in mind, Burnley are the kind of defence kings of the league. If they're not winning, they're drawing 0-0, but they do tend to win quite handsomely. They lost to Preston in the Cup, obviously a much-changed team. Are we going to get anything from Burnley on Tuesday?
A few weeks ago, I'd have said no. And right now, I'm still going to say no. But
less no than before.
It's a weird one. Sort of like, I'd have been a bit more. Burnley started. The one thing I sort of like people were criticising for before was that they weren't scoring goals, but they weren't conceding. Now they've started to slap a couple of teams to score a few. But this part of my head that's just like last week of just what if? You look at that block. If we play that against Burnley, like I take a 0-0 there. I take a 0-0 against them all day. It can be the worst game of football going, but God, give me a 0-0.
So the last goal they conceded in the league, Tom, was against Watford on the 21st of December, 2024. Now, they have conceded goals in the FA Cup since then. They conceded 1 to Reading as they beat them 3-1. They lost against Burnley at the weekend 3-0. But James Trafford wasn't in goals, I think, for either of those games. So his kind of clean sheet record's still intact. They don't score a huge amount of goals. Ben is right. They have spanked a few teams recently. They beat Sheffield Wednesday 4-0. But prior to that, it's 2-0s, 1-0s, 1-0s, and then there's 5-0 against Plymouth. Do you think if we defend like we did against Villa, we could sneak a 1-0 here? Do you think we're going to break James Trafford's heart and his clean sheet record?
I reckon we'll score in 90 seconds. So then something stupid's going to happen. We could get spanked like 5-1 or something then. But I don't know. Whenever you get a build up to this, they're not conceding. And then it'll be like a massive anticlimax to them when one goes in off Robinson's ass after 72 seconds of the game or something like that. But like,
Okay.
I like Ben's like kind of in, well, welcome to my world a bit, where you just find an optimism from fucking nothing. Because like the stats say we should get absolutely nothing from this game. We deserve nothing from this game in the run we've kind of had. But like, there is just part of you going, yeah, but if we're going to get something from anything, it'd be this one where nobody expects absolutely anything. Yeah. And the Villa game, I know we didn't get anything from it. That's where we kind of pull a performance out of our ass. So I don't know. Tuesday night as well, I think that works in our favour. Saturday, 3:00, I don't think it does. I don't know why. Yeah. It just feels that way. And I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if we nick a 1-0.
All right, Ben, do you think we're going to get a result?
I'm going to go for it. I'm going to be optimistic and say 0-0.
0-0. All right, yeah. I mean, I think it's with these two games, obviously Sunderland as well, we haven't really talked about, but like a point, 2 points represents a really good return on them. I know Sunderland seem to be from the outside perhaps a little bit more inconsistent at the moment. I know they've been pretty good all season, but they have lost a couple recently, including against Hull and Leeds. It is away though, and they are pretty good at home. So I think a point from either of these games would be fantastic. I think we almost write Sunderland off and just hope for the best against Burnley.
No, like the pressure's on them as well to kind of stay in the mix. I think at this stage of the season, we can't write anything off. I think Sunderland is still a cracking team. Sure, fine. I think they only look inconsistent because the teams around them have been on such good runs, like to Leeds and Sheffield United and stuff. But like, it's just at this stage of the season in the Championship, like, I know it's a cliche thing, but anything can happen because teams can completely capitulate when they're in the mix. People who start to get sucked towards relegation zones. So, I know, and like, who knows the kind of like bounce that we get from that Villa performance? You know, the confidence that like our defense could have. Look, if we could hold out against Champions League winners for nearly 70 minutes, then surely we could do it against Burnley and Sunderland. So I wouldn't be surprised. Like, the likelihood is we'll get 0 from these two games, but I wouldn't be completely in shell shock if we get a point from either of the games.
Especially with Sunderland, it's a weird one because like that was like the especially like the Hull result. You look at their fans on Twitter, like they're in panic stations already. They're still 13 clear of the drop of like falling out the playoffs, but they're like panicking about everything when like they weren't expecting to sort of compete for automatics. I think some people hadn't pegged for the playoffs and stuff, but like I think they'll be fine. So like if you can frustrate them, sort of like you said, keep it 0-0 and keep it tight to 70, 80 minutes. Then it's open season. Like we've gone there and nicked points from them before, and we haven't deserved anything. So you never know. But
and also, if you look at their recent results, particularly at home, it's not been as happy a home as they probably would have been in the past. They've drawn with Plymouth at home, they've drawn with Watford at home, and they've lost to Hull at home in that time. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility that we can go there and frustrate them. I just, it's a long way to go in it. So, Tom. Out of these two games, you've already said, well, we're going to draw with Burnley. Are we going to get a point at Sunderland?
I said we'd win 1-0 against Burnley.
You did say that.
76.
Yeah.
I can imagine if we got 6 points from the two. No, because even my optimism annoys me now, so I can't imagine what everyone else is thinking. I reckon we'll draw away at Sunderland. I'm saying it. Yeah, 4 points.
All right, 4 points. Ben?
I think it'll probably be a 1-0 loss, 1 or 2-0 loss.
All right, so you think we're going to get no points or 1 point from this? And
I think we'll get a point from the last. If we get a point from the next two games, I'll be happy. I think it's a lot of football as well. We've played the last few weeks. I think like they're two big games, like, and then it sort of ramps. It's not like it eases off any then after that either, is it? It is still.
Well, you know what they say, football never stops. The Championship doesn't stop for anyone. I think we're going to get 4 points from the next two games.
Yeah,
I think we're going to somehow beat Burnley. I think we're going to get a point against Sunderland. Why not? We can enjoy football now, can't we? Because we've had Villa and we've enjoyed that. We're not out of the woods yet, but let's enjoy it. Thank you, everyone, for listening in this week. We've come to the end of The View from the Ninian. Twitter.com/VFT Ninian for all your tweets. Ko-fi.com, KOFI.com/VFT Ninian. Thank you to Ryan March and Terrace for getting us on their podcast network. We'll be back next week. Ben, what are you going to do with the rest of your Sunday? It's early. It's only 11:20.
Yeah, off for a walk. Take the dog out. We're off to Cosmerton Lakes.
Oh, how lovely. Nice. Tom, bedtime?
Bedtime for me, thank you, yes.
Yeah, good bedtime.
Yeah,
right, I'm going to go to the tip.
Weekend.
I'm going to the tip.
Oh yeah, me. I'm going to do that next week. Can't wait. Can't wait.
Buzzing for it. Buzzing for the tip. So I'll be packing the car full of stuff. We'll be taking it to the tip. After this, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll be back next week. Wow, we might be back if we beat Burnley on Tuesday. Who knows? Let's get excited. Let's enjoy it. Come on!